Hey, Sam, guess what?
What?
Maybe we don't need a second line center after all.
Maybe we don't. I'm telling you, Andrew, the way Stankoven and that whole line has been playing for the past two games, it makes you wonder if you need it. But I mean, Andrew, you and I both know at the same time that once time comes, it's a different animal, and I mean, it is that center core that you just wonder about.
Yeah, I think you like everyone outside of Aho as a depth player, and with Stankoven, you like him as a potential fit in the future for 2C. But that being said, I wouldn't do anything drastic to upgrade it. But if you can bring in a bona fide second line center without touching this roster, I think it's a no brainer. Just the question is, what would that actually cost?
Yes, exactly. And something was mentioned on TNT from Elliot Friedman recently on the Hurricanes. We will get to that when it comes to the Hurricanes news. But as usual, just the normal run the mill stuff for the podcast. A few things I wanted to discuss. Obviously, we have a great partnership with SeatGeek. You get $20 off your first purchase if you use promo code Caniac Reports, all one word. It's a great deal if you're trying to save money on some tickets. And also remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. And also, please remember, if you're listening to us wherever you get your podcast, please leave a rating and a review. Really, again, helps us out a ton. And another thing, too, we kind of did this before we recorded here, but because of the trade deadline coming up Friday, Andrew and I have decided that it'd be better to release an episode Friday night instead of Friday morning, because at that point, then it's kind of like the episode be more ready off the press about the recent trade deadline moves instead of talking about that next week on Monday's episode. So it'd be a little bit more recent. It's going to be fun to talk about. It might be, Andrew. It might not. You just don't know how trade deadline day is going to go.
Yep, there's a chance it could be an episode where we get on here and just go, well, they didn't do anything. Yep, all right,
Yep.
sick episode, guys. But my guts tell me they're going to do something that's worth at least diving into. I don't know if it's going to be anything as flashy or earth shattering as we saw the last two seasons, but I don't see them having all this cap space, all this assets, and just sitting on their laurels. Good as this team is.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing about going into trade deadline as a Canes fan, like, it's one of those things where, like, my gut tells me one thing, my mind says the other. Like, my gut says, oh, I just don't think Tulski or Canes are going to do anything. But, like, if you think about it with your mind, it's like what you just said, the cap space. They have so much of that. They have a lot of assets. They still have quite a bit of draft capital from the Dallas trade. And not to mention, you could see a player like maybe Stankoven and Legault or Nystrom. Not saying that they will be traded, but they have assets to move to get possibly a big player.
Yeah, and if it's a team that's looking to rebuild, the Canes definitely have young players that would be a great starting point. Let me throw this one at you. The Canes are playing on the road in Vancouver on Wednesday. Is the flight home different than the flight there?
Yeah, I know. Or, like, just imagine, like, when the Hurricanes and the Canucks come out onto the ice to start the first period, you suddenly see Elias Peterson putting on a Hurricanes jersey.
Yeah. Him and KK can do a jersey swap
Yeah, I do
pregame.
jersey swap.
Yeah.
I said the same thing, I believe, before the Olympic break, because I think our last game was against the Rangers. I was like, just imagine Panarin coming out in a Canes jersey.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's going to be an interesting few days. Obviously Friday is the day we got circled.
Mhm.
Sam and I are both lunatics. We're going to be waking up at 7 a.m., putting on coffee, and just wearing out our phones by just refreshing every 2 seconds. But wouldn't be surprised if the Canes did make a move if it happened in the next day or two here, just based kind of on how they've done business in the past. So anything major, I think, will be done before the deadline, just based on how we've seen them work in the past.
Oh yeah, could definitely see it, but they could also. I'm just trying to be funny here, Andrew. But they could also be like, you know what, Sam Wallace, he's a Hurricane diehard fan. We're going to raise his cholesterol up very, very high and just
Mhm.
wait to
Yep,
do the trade right at what 2:59 p.m.
yep. Well, let's not forget last year that they kind of ran out of time. There were
Yeah, they
rumors
did.
that they were going to flip those picks they got in the Rantanen trade to possibly go get somebody like a Brock Besser from Vancouver, who you never know. Maybe he's still an option given just how things up in BC are going. But I think they have hopefully learned their lesson that if there's going to be a trade they make, especially if it's one where they're receiving more than they get, which I don't see happening this year, just given that
Hmm.
they're probably in kind of at least a soft buy-in right now. But I think they have hopefully learned a lesson about what can happen when you wait till the very end. Sometimes you do just genuinely run out of time.
Completely agree. Well, Andrew, I mean, we kind of already talked about the Canes a little bit and stuff around the NHL, like Vancouver and all. But speaking of trades, we did have a trade, I believe, like right after the Olympic break, and it included a defenseman from Colorado in Samuel Girard and a 2028 second round pick to Pittsburgh, and Colorado gets Brett Kulak. Andrew, when I saw this trade, I was like, this is a salary cap dump type of move for Colorado. They're trying to clear space because Girard, I mean, he only got 18 points in 50 something games, and he carries a $5 million cap. And Pittsburgh, they are kind of in that mode right now, even though they're playing very, very good. Their GM Cal Dubas always wants to get younger, and Gerard, he's certainly a youngish type of player.
Yeah, on the younger side, excellent skater. So maybe he just gives that older Penguins team a little bit more speed on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like for Colorado, it's them positioning themselves, whether it's to re-sign somebody in the future or maybe they got something up their sleeves. Uh, I forget where I saw it reported, and I can double check it while we're sitting here. But I believe now Colorado sits with 8.7 million in cap space. So there's a certain guy with number 87 playing for Pittsburgh who just loves having his number attached to things. So there's 8.7 million on the cap. McKinnon, Crosby, maybe it's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually on Puckpedia right now as we're recording this, and their cap space, their current cap space is $9.67 million. So they
Okay.
do have some room to add in a big player like a Crosby or Malkin.
Okay. Yeah. So that must have been a joke that I just saw rehashed a bunch of times about the cap hit. But just with how Crosby is with that, like it would be one of those just of course that's how it works out things with him. But Crosby going to the Avs has been a big talking point of that team for a few years now. I think that's going to be snuffed out a bit by just how good Pittsburgh is doing,
Oh
at
yeah.
least relative to
Hmm.
what's expected. But um, even though I'm glad the US beat them, watching more of Crosby and McKinnon together, just as a hockey fan, would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I know we don't talk about injuries a ton, but I mean, Pittsburgh announced that Crosby's going to be out for 4 weeks. I mean, you would think that would hurt them, and I do think it's going to hurt them. But I believe they just won 5-1 recently in their last game. Like, I guess they don't need Crosby.
Yeah, you got to figure a little bit of R&R. I believe they're playing the Flyers, so if you're in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh and you can't get up for that game, then get off the team is probably how they should view it. So um, it's up to the rest of those guys to make sure that this isn't a wasted season because it's so unfortunate for the game in general that Crosby got hurt the way that he did. But he's been willing that team into a playoff spot. So as much as if there's anybody I don't want to see in the playoffs, it is Crosby. Just as a taking my own fanhood out of the equation here, I think that the sport has desperately needed Sid the Kid back in the postseason.
Oh yeah, I think having a big famous guy like Crosby, I guess you can say the same probably for other famous guys like maybe like Alex Ovechkin. Obviously, I think is in that camp, and just other big star players. I mean, can you believe Austin Matthews might not see the playoffs? Like that's crazy right there. So
He might be seeing a high pie lottery pick on his wing in a few years. That's how bad things are going in Toronto.
Yeah.
They need to sell and sell hard. Just everything about that team is just wrong.
I know they're not reacting well to Marner's departure.
No.
Yeah. Well, the next bit of news, this came today, but there have been a coaching change up in LA, Andrew. And I will admit, when I saw that, I was like, that is I mean, LA is probably maybe a little bit underperforming, but at the same time, they did just get a big player in Artemi Panarin. So I mean, when they got him, I would have thought maybe they would have given Jim Hiller probably at least several games just to get Panarin accumulated to the new team. But he got fired. And I mean, his last 8 games, I think, were 2-5-1. So yeah, it's not been good for Hiller, but they did fire him, Andrew, and now they have an interim head coach. So what do you think of that move?
I can't help but wonder, and this isn't based on anything other than a hunch. I wonder if Panarin agreeing to go to LA had the stipulation of I don't want to play for this coach because, sort of like Toronto in a way. LA has been kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and they keep running into the brick wall that is the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. So, if you're going to turn over a page and take a big swing for a guy like Panarin, and if your coaching staff is even a question mark, when else are you going to make a switch? The question now is, does this just completely derail their season, or do we see one of these instances where, a coach gets fired, a big name player gets traded out, and then it's a wake-up call to the rest of the team? Because that is a talented roster, and sort of like with obviously Kopitar is not Crosby, but he's on his farewell tour right now, and that's another guy who deserves, I think, at least to make the playoffs and take another crack at it, because us being East and him being out West, I think he is an extremely underrated player by a lot of fans on the East Coast, like probably a top 5 centerman of his generation, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think I might have forgotten to mention this when we won against LA. I think it was like 2-1. It was a bit of a snooze fest, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. But at the very end of it, all the Hurricane players stayed out to handshake Anze Kopitar. I found that great. Such a classy move.
Yeah, and I want to say it was a lot of the guys were going up the ice, and Jordan Staal called them back in. So great move by the captain.
Yep.
There's a few guys who they have such an impact on this league for a long period of time that game has to recognize game. And as much as Jordan Staal has meant to us or the Staal family, really, Kopitar has been there almost as long as we've had a Staal here. Like, he's been in LA for forever and is a real Mount Rushmore player for them. So class act. I hope he gets another shot at a run out west.
Yes, definitely. The last piece of news I want to talk about, because trade deadline coming up, you're starting to hear all these speculations, rumors, and all. But we're going out to Vancouver, Andrew, because it seems like there's a particular defenseman that's probably going to be getting traded soon, and that is Tyler Myers. I thought about this from the Hurricanes' perspective, Andrew. I wouldn't be upset if we got a guy like Tyler Myers because he provides a lot of physical edge. Very big guys, like 6'7".
Mm.
Um, but is that something I'm going to gamble on? Probably not.
Probably not. I wouldn't be against them adding a little bit more size to the back end. The question with this team in general, especially on defense, in my opinion, is can they keep up with the pace? Because, can you bring in a defenseman and be like, okay, his line is going to be exclusively shut down? You could, but I don't see, just what we know about Rod, to both his benefit and his detriment. The system is the system. We'll tweak it a little bit as the game goes on, but we're going to play Hurricanes hockey. I don't know if Philip Myers fits the bill for that. I don't know if he has the skating ability to be more than just a plug-in for a game fill-in, and he's going to cost too much for that. And that's not a knock on the player. That's just looking at the player with the system that we're working with here.
Yes, I completely agree. We'll see what happens with Tyler Myers. I think one report is he might be going to Detroit. Obviously, we'll be recapping that game soon between us and Detroit. But Andrew, I mean, obviously we've already been talking about the Hurricanes, but when it comes to the news aspect of the Hurricanes, not really much, but there's one thing, and that is Elliot Friedman on TNT very recently has said that keep your three teams in mind on Vincent Trocheck: Boston, Minnesota, and Carolina. And Andrew, when I saw that, I was like, please get him to come here. Please, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. If I had to rate it, number one, I want him going to Carolina. Number two, to Minnesota. Three, please do not let him go to Boston, because he provides a lot of what Carolina needs. I think if you're Minnesota, I think he provides depth for that top-loaded team. If you're Boston, man, I hate to say it, but Trocheck would make a lot of sense in black and gold. Just the way he plays, that would be a perfect Bruin.
He does. I would agree. The thing is, when I saw those two teams, I was like, I think Carolina has more. And again, I could definitely be wrong on this, but I think Carolina has a little bit more of an advantage against those other teams. And to me, here's the reason why. One, Minnesota, they already lost a lot of assets already in trying to get Quinn Hughes. Mm-hmm. So I think from an asset perspective, I would say we have bigger assets compared to Minnesota. Again, just coming from a Canes fan, but that's what I'm thinking. And Boston, well, they are in a playoff spot. I don't think anybody, and I'm not talking about the asset thing with Boston. I think it's different. I don't think anybody saw Boston being a playoff team this year. Nobody.
No.
Is it the correct thing to go ahead and buy? Is my thing with Boston.
No, and it's funny you mentioned that. I can vividly recall before the season starting, for those who haven't listened to episodes where I talk about myself, I live up in Boston, so I have a lot of friends who are big Bruins fans. I remember when the season started, the conversation was maybe Boston will get Gavin McKenna. Maybe even if they finish in the bottom five, the NHL will rig the draft lottery so that they can get Gavin McKenna.
Yeah.
Like, that was the talk around town. And then, Boston, just the team that will not die. As much as we like to pick on their management for that year where they had 3 first-round picks and walked away with nothing, they just continue to find guys that just fit. There's a lot of ways I think their front office operates that I'm guessing the Hurricanes have taken a page from, because, not just going for the shiniest object, finding those, Eric Robinson type players who, maybe on paper don't say anything to you before they're on the team, but when they're actually in the system, they just explode. And Boston has done that really for as long as I can remember. And you look at this year, they have a guy like Morgan Geekie, who if you remember, did show some promise with Carolina, just completely overachieving. But that being said, I can't help but think that they're a little bit of don't want to call them fool's gold, but I think they might be overachieving to the long-term detriment of the team.
Yes. And I mean, to be honest, I think you could argue kind of Pittsburgh is in that same boat, just a little bit. Not as much as Boston, but maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, with Pittsburgh, you can understand it because I see it as they have two options that make sense. It's either you move Crosby or you go all in
Yes.
and embrace the fact that maybe this doesn't work, but we're going to give our guy the best chance he has to win on the tail end because players like Crosby, like that's what needs, like that's the right thing to do. You either help
Yes.
him win or you send him somewhere that he can.
Which is why
Whereas,
I'm willing to give them more leeway compared to Boston.
yeah, Boston is, again, they just won't die. Like, it's been 2 or 3 seasons where I think a lot of us have thought, okay, this is the year where the bottom falls out. I'm sure they're going to draft great. In 2 seasons, they'll be back doing their thing, but they just have not gone away. And it's really impressive.
Oh, it really has. And I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now, Andrew, and Boston, they're in the second wild card spot, and they're 2 points from being knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know if buying is the wisest thing for Boston. So that's, I'm sorry. It's just, listen, geeky, incredible story up there. He had promised down here in Carolina, like you said, but hey, it's just Geeky and Elias Lindholm as your top two centers. It's not going to win you a lot of playoff games.
Yeah, well, don't let Adam
I don't
Goldberg
think it
say
is.
that because he's been on the Lindholm train for years, wanting that guy back.
Yep, very, very true. Well, yeah, I think that's kind of it for Hurricanes news since our last episode, Andrew. And but there are a couple things I do want to talk about. One, obviously, Andrew, this is the start of a new month. So, like what we usually do, 3 stars of the month of February. We have a very small sample because it's only 5-7 games. So 3 stars in the expectation heading into the month of March. So
Okay.
do you need to look at the schedule real quick here?
Yeah. Let me give that a gander.
Okay, alrighty. But yeah, so there's only five games in the month of February, and Andrew, we won all of those games. So I would say the 3 stars of the month for me, Andrew. Man, because I'm trying to give you time to sort it out here.
Nope, I think I'm good.
You think you're good?
This one's going to be tough because we're going off of 5 games, a lot of which
It
are a little
is. It's
are a
really
little
tough.
foggy, admittedly, just because of the Olympics. But do you want to trade off 3-3-2-2-1-1, or do you just want to list your three?
Let's do list our three. For me, number 3. Again, this is really tough because it's only 5 games. Ah, man. Number 3, I think I'm going to give it to him because he's played so good, especially in the last 2 games. I'm going to give it to Taylor Hall.
I like it.
Yep, Taylor Hall. Number 2, I'm going to give to Seth Jarvis because he scored quite a few goals this month. And then number 1, because I think his goal scoring has gotten a lot better and he's considered one of the faces of the team, Sebastian Aho.
I like that list. Solid list. I was thinking about making it my 3rd star, but I can't do it. But honorable mention, I'm going to give it to Freddie Anderson only because of the turnaround we've seen him do. Yep. And that is a big development, but it can't warrant a star for such a short month. I'm going to give my 3rd star to Keandre Miller. I think
all right,
really settled in defensively. I think his breakout passes on the transition, which was a bit of a concern to start the year, he was just a little bit too aggressive with it. He's set up some incredible, blue line to blue line passes here lately. Second star, I'm going to give it to want to be original, but I think you hit the nail on the head with these. Second star, Taylor Hall, and first star, Aho.
All
Aho
right.
has completely woken up. Maybe we're missing it by not putting Svetch in our top three. He's been quietly just incredible. So actually, you know what? I'm actually going to give Svetch my second over Hall, and I'll put Hall in that fourth honorable mention spot. So yeah. Number 1 Aho, 2 Svetch, 3 Miller for me.
Okay, all right. I think those are good players to put into your top 3 there. And now our expectations, Andrew, heading into the month of March. So we have lots of games in here. Most of these are road games than home games. And it again, when you factor in, I mean, I am going to be factoring in travel in this. And I mean, you have the long road trip that's going to be starting this week out west. Once again, late games. I do not like late games at all. Sure, you Canes fans can relate.
Yep. We got the whole week is late games.
Yes, it is.
We got that 9 p.m. matinee against the Oilers.
I know. Oh my gosh. Good night.
Oh boy. But yeah, luckily I'm still on crazy winter schedule up here, so I'll be up tweeting about it and keeping y'all company. So don't worry.
I'll try to watch all these games. I'm not going to make any promises, but I will try.
But so looking at the schedule, it's 15 games. Again, most of which are on the road. Only 5 are at home. There's a back-to-back between Edmonton and Calgary coming up next weekend. Given where they're at in the standings, given that there's a chance they're going to have to fold in some new pieces come Friday, it's a lower bar than we usually set, but so 15 games, that's 30 points. If they can walk away with 17 points this month, I think that's enough to keep them where they're at in the standings. But I think just being,
I would agree.
Just being realistic about how much is on the road. If they do make a major trade, obviously that's a significant piece that has to be folded in. So we'll say if they can go 8-6-1, I'll be happy.
Yep, I think I'll be happy with that too. To be honest,
lowest bar we'll probably ever set for this team.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if you look at the home games in the month of March, like you're playing Pittsburgh twice, and you're playing Montreal, like that. I mean, it's going to be a little bit tough playing these teams at home. I mean, you have St. Louis, who obviously you want to see. That should be a win, even though we lost against them away. And obviously New Jersey. So, I mean, it's going to be tough at home, I think, Andrew. And then you add in the travel. I think it's probably going to be a huge challenge for Carolina. But I think those are realistic numbers that we're trying to expect here from this team. So, Andrew, we only have one game to discuss with the Detroit game. So let's go ahead and do our sponsor. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers, bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino in Kansas. Wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL. All rights reserved. All right, Andrew. First and only game to recap is the Detroit game. And I think even though they're probably not as good as Tampa, we knew this was a team that was pretty good coming in. And you know what? Just like Tampa, 3-goal lead. And those goals were great. Like that Taylor Hall breakaway was sick, Andrew. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just a total one-man play. He blocks the shot, chases it down, and then just some filthy puck handling to just absolutely dance the goalie out of his pads. I think ultimately I would love to see him in the bottom six when it's all said and done. But that being said, this chemistry he's building with that second pair, we keep going back to, come playoffs, we know that, even though he's been a little bit more calm about it this year, that come playoff time, Rod Blindamore is going to come back. And
Yep.
I think Hall might be your rover in the forward line. Just whoever could use a little bit of that veteran presence, just plug him in.
Yep, completely agree. And also, Sebastian Aho scored the second goal, which was a power play goal. Funny, I thought it might have knocked off of Seth Jarvis's stick. It did not. It went to Aho. So, Andrew, good for Aho. He continues the amazing goal scoring trout that he's on. Obviously, you want that to keep going.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we can hope from Aho is that, after his performance in the Olympics, that, he's got to be riding an all-time high in confidence right now. So just keep that going. Stahl's the captain, but I think, this is Aho's team, for lack of a better term. Obviously there's a lot of leaders in that room, but he seems like, you can usually tell what the general emotion of the team is by watching Aho play. So hopefully there's some confidence. Hopefully he can access angry Aho a bit come postseason. And yeah, that chemistry between that top line, man, I'm so excited that Svetch is finally clicking with them. Jarvis is just reckless abandon personified, and Aho is just the calm leader between the two of them. Love that top line.
No, I do too. No complaints at all, obviously. And then, I mean, obviously, you only had 2 goals in the first period, and then you had the third goal with Eric Robinson scoring from Carrier and Walker. And to me, the play that really started that was Walker intercepting the puck and passing it to Carrier to create a bit of a chance there, but with him and Robinson obviously, he gets in really tight with Detroit's goalie, and he is able to score. So it's one of those goals where it's not pretty, but a guy like Eric Robinson, I mean, that kind of goal kind of personifies him a little bit. He's not the most skillful guy, but he's a very hardworking guy, and that's exactly what that goal was.
Yeah, Walker was all over this game. He sneakily might be the best skater on this team. Like, that might be a bit of a stretch, but he's up there. He's super fast, and he utilized that a lot this game, was just all over it. And then Robinson, that's just the pure strength and will goal, and you really see what we've been missing with him out. And I think, obviously the Canes aren't just going to give KK away. He does still have some value, as much as some fans don't want to hear that, and I get it. But I think how seamlessly Robinson has come back, and how much that line of him, Jankowski, and Carrier is just going to absolutely bang in the playoffs and get so many greasy goals if things go right. I think Kokoniemi's fate has been sealed these last 2 games.
Trust me, I've said it before. I'll say it again here on this episode. I think KK, and I mean, I agree. You don't want to just trade him just to trade him. Obviously, you want to get something back, even if it's just assets.
Mm-hmm.
But I, I mean, I kind of think of it as like you want to get assets for him, but also I think, as an organization, and again, this is just what I think, you want to do what's best for the player.
Mhm.
And I just think KK having a new start on another team shows that you care about him in that type of way. It's just like, listen, we like you. It's just not working out here, but we want to give you a fresh start somewhere else, and maybe that's where you hit your potential. You know.
Yeah, and I do think it is important that if they do have the means to put him in a good spot, I think it's just a good look for the room because it is unfortunate that he hasn't worked out here because by all accounts, just sounds like a real stand-up guy, and you can tell. As much as I'm sure even his teammates get frustrated with his lack of production, you can tell that he's a popular guy in that
He
locker room.
is.
So these guys are pros. They all get it. He's not going to be the first, person they've become friends with who's moved on via trade or free agency, but he's been here for such a long time. And maybe if he's not a core of what we see on the ice, there's no doubt that his presence in that room is kind of a core fixture because of
Mhm.
how long he's been here. So yeah, if you can do right by the guy, which, you know, the rumors we've been seeing since last year is that Vancouver has some interest and granted that's a struggling team, but it's a team where if the system there clicks with him, he's going to be in a position that he can really claim a role there.
Oh yeah, definitely. He very well could. And getting back to the Detroit game, Andrew, we know very well how this team does when it comes to 3-goal leads. And I'm sure you're wondering about it too. Were they going to give that 3-goal lead up? Well, good news, they didn't give it up entirely, but they were close. Very, very close. And right when Robinson scored that third goal, I was like, oh, the dreaded 3rd-goal lead. So I
Yep, here it
wonder
comes.
if they're going to blow it. Yeah, I know. I really wonder. But ultimately, technically, they did not. But we will still go through the Detroit goals here. Simon Evanson, he scores off the post and in. And I think from the goalie perspective, I would say probably out of the 2 goals, that's probably maybe the goal you could save. But at the same time, I mean, it, I would say I probably blame the defense more than the goaltending in that situation.
For sure. But man, talk about a perfect shot going against
It
the
was.
grain to hit the far post going in the other direction. Just an elite shot. You could argue maybe if Freddie plays it more aggressively and cuts down the angle, but
Hmm.
hindsight and whatnot, and plus, before the pass was made, it looked like I forget who got the primary on that goal, but just kind of
The Brinket.
brink it, yeah. So you're probably expecting him to shoot it. So I
Hmm.
think maybe Freddie wasn't able to fully commit to the pass, and then if a guy's going to paint the far corner while you're going the other way, unless you're making a crazy glove save, that's going to go in.
Oh yeah, it is. And then the second goal is Patrick Kane scoring. And to me, I thought that was just more of Detroit just showing how dominant they were after Carolina made it 3-0 in the later portion of that second period. Because it was all Detroit, Andrew. Like they really were hemming us in.
Yeah, they definitely caught the Canes. Maybe not taking their foot off the gas. It looked like they were almost pressing too much to get that fourth goal and just kind
Yeah,
of
they were.
broke out of their system because it's not like they weren't generating chances. They just weren't staying in that structure that allows them to take the chances and for the defense to pinch. On the Patrick Kane goal, I think Blake maybe gets caught a little flat-footed right in front of his net for a split second, and there is a reason why he's debatably the best American-born forward ever. Patrick Kane's able to
Oh yeah.
spot that in a split second and just absolutely rifle it home. So I think you could argue maybe Freddie, if he has a little bit better positioning on both goals, maybe gets lucky and makes it save. But again, firmly in the savable but not a bad goal category. And I think I might call the Patrick Kane one more savable than Edmondson one, just because to me that Edmondson shot was just a incredible. He could plan to do that again and probably misses. That's not enough by the player. That's just how elite that shot is.
Yeah, I think you could argue that. The reason why I kind of view it the other way is because there was a Detroit player and a Canes player standing right in front of Anderson. So he was already very well screened. So it was
true.
just, when I saw that, I was just like, I'm willing to kind of give Anderson a pass. And plus, with us being on the topic of Anderson, Andrew, like he was making very good saves before and even after Detroit scored those 2 goals. Just what amazing saves he made! That, like, so many.
Yeah, honestly, a game where you don't have one line just dominate the way that second line did. Freddie's probably the first star of the game, and deservingly so. I'm glad he got the hear the Freddie chants again. I can't imagine how just kind of challenging this year has been for him. Coming off the high of coming back from health issues, having such a good season, then you come into this year and. Granted, he wasn't playing well, but I think we talked about this a lot when his poor play was happening, that like it needed to be better. But you want to talk about a goalie who just could not get any help from his D. Just they weren't giving up a lot of chances, but they were always grade A chances, it felt like, against Freddie. So proud of him for sticking with it. Hopefully the Olympics did him some good, because even though he only won 1 game, his personal stats look great. And, you never know that I think that there's a real chance that even if Bussy stays red hot, there's going to be a game or two in the playoffs where, for whatever reason, Freddie's going to need to come in and win us a game. So it's a great sign seeing him get it together, because it's just one less thing the Canes have to address at the trade deadline.
Exactly. And then in the third period, again, it's still a tight game. You still wonder if Carolina's gonna let up the gas, or Detroit's gonna keep pressing. And fortunately for us Canes fans, Andrew, Carolina, they kind of put their foot back on the pedal with 2 great goals. Yeah, Shane Goss-Bear scoring, kind of a give and go type of play. I mean, you have Ghost passing it to Blake, Blake passing it to Ghost. Oh, gorgeous play right there. I love that.
Yep, Ghost keeps doing Ghost things, and Blake, good on him. There was a chance that had the third period not gone the way that it was, he might have been singled out as the reason why the game took a turn, because he had a couple of rough plays in that second period.
Did.
But I don't remember the exact quote about him, but I love that Rod came to his defense and basically said something to the effect of like, well, yeah, I mean, young player, if you want him doing the stuff he does, that's good. You have to live with the fact that he's going to make some mistakes as he learns. So I think there's an understanding that it's just there's no substitute for experience with Blake, and the sky really is the limit for him, because that was a great pass. And then I loved on his goal, the 5th goal. I want to say it was him and Stankoven had a 2-on-1, and how many times have we seen it with this team where they're just so
trying to pass
on making that pass? Yeah,
yep.
Blake was actually positively selfish and
yes,
rifles it. Love to see that. So
I'm happy you said the word selfish, because that you hit the nail right on the head there, because I was gonna say that with the plate goal, it really is nice that you have some players that are like, I'm just gonna rip it, because we don't have a lot of those players. And here's the thing, I'm not saying Aho doesn't shoot. Of course he shoots. I'm not saying Svetch doesn't shoot. He shoots. But we've seen those players, especially on 2-on-1, several 2-on-1s, including the Tampa game, where it's like Svetch and Aho or Svetch or Jarvis or any combination, and they just somehow mess up a 2-on-1. Well, let's look at Blake and Stankoven right there. Beautifully placed and perfect decision making of just shooting the puck. Loved it.
Yeah, and I still have that second line circled as my, if I can improve one thing about this team, it's that
It's the size. It's mainly the size.
It's the size and it's the consistency of finishing. Like I feel like
Yeah.
before these two games, like going into the Olympic break, I'm not sure if we phrased it quite this way, but it felt like they were like, say it was a play that took 5 things to go right. They would do 4 things great, and then something would happen during that final pass or the shot where it just crumbles and falls apart. So the effort's been there, the impact has been there, maybe not on the scoreboard in terms of just like, dictating the course of play. So love all 3 of those players. I've noticed on just, on Twitter where, everyone's got their hot takes. A lot of people have been putting Blake in their mock trades. If it's for a huge return, sure. Nothing that we've been rumored to get. No,
yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm not giving up Blake. If it's like a 1-for-1 Blake for Pedersen and they retain, maybe. Outside of that, I can't think of anybody I'd rather have than Blake with the contract, how long he's going to be here.
Yeah.
And the fact that we just keep seeing him just become a smarter and smarter player.
Yep. And I mean, obviously he's doing great. He's a big part of it, but I think the past 12 games, Canes are 10-0-2. Wonderful. Just playing superb.
Yeah, and we Canes fans a lot of times do have a bit of a chip on our shoulder about how we feel like our team, our players, our coaches, us as fans don't get the respect that we deserve. Hottest team in the league right now with all the cap space and the assets in the world to add to it. How we're not the biggest talking point behind maybe like the McDavids of the world. Just kind of validates the little bit of that angst we feel towards the rest of the league. And I've gotten to a point, especially living up here in a air quotes traditional hockey market, that I've embraced just the being passed off and us just coming into the playoffs and just ruining the party for all these teams that the league feels warrants the respect. So, it feels like, despite the standings, it feels like we're kind of the sleeper dark horse somehow, which is crazy because it's a second round, at least for this team consistently. So I think they're one good piece away from being a bona fide contender, and I think that they can get that without touching the roster. So just a lot to be excited about, even if no one else sees it.
Yep. Last episode pre-trade deadline, Andrew. So we'll see what happens in our next episode, because that when we record, Andrew, that's when we'll know if the Canes are all in on this roster or not.
Give me Vinny Trocheck for future considerations and a basket of Bo-Berry biscuits. Make it happen, Tulski.
Oh man, I'd love it if we got Vincent Trocheck. But yeah, again, if you want to talk more about like trade rumors and all the players, we do have an episode for that. We recorded and we released it during the Olympic break. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one, Andrew. So I guess we will see each other on the other side of the trade deadline.
Yes, sir.